ever wish you could just walk into any negotiation like you own the place? You know, whether it's for like a higher salary or even just a better deal on something you want, and just nail it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally confident, totally in control, and then you walk away feeling like you won. Well, today, that's what we're talking about. Giving you the tools and the confidence to get what you want.
Absolutely.
We're doing a deep dive on negotiation, all based on Mention, source material title, and getting you that skill set to make you feel like a pro.
Right on.
So our source material lays out these 4 cornerstones of what they consider successful negotiation. And, you know, I'm looking at it: preparation, active listening, flexibility, and a win-win mindset.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. When I first saw these, I was like, okay, pretty standard, right?
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know. But I will say, digging a little deeper, especially this preparation piece, I realized I really underestimated that.
It's true. Most people, you know, when they think about preparing for a negotiation, they think about, okay, what are the numbers I need to know? But it's so much more than that.
Right.
It's like, how do you visualize this going well? How do you think about, okay, what are the counter arguments they're going to come at me with?
Yeah.
What are my responses to that? And actually, when you start to rehearse some of this stuff, it does wonders for your confidence.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting you say that, because I think it was a couple years ago, read a study about athletes who visualize their performance beforehand, actually performing better than the control group that didn't.
Interesting.
So it's really like you're priming your brain for success, even in these negotiation scenarios.
You're totally setting the stage. And that sense of preparedness spills over into these other cornerstones, right? So like, if you're showing up feeling grounded and confident, you're going to be that much more present and able to actually listen to the other person.
Which is, in and of itself, a superpower.
Totally.
Would you say?
Absolutely. And active listening.
Right.
It's not just about hearing the words.
Right.
It's like, okay, what are the underlying needs? What's motivating this person?
Yeah.
What are those subtle cues? Maybe it's the tone of voice,
the
body language, even if they're saying one thing, but their body language is saying another. That's telling you something totally different.
Right.
So, yeah, picking up on all those things is super important.
Speaking of active listening, I feel like one place where I definitely need to level up my skills, and maybe where we all do, is this whole like salary negotiation thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that.
Oh, yeah.
Say dread.
Oh, I dread it.
Because I feel like a lot of times that comes from feeling, you know, unprepared.
Oh, 100%.
Therefore powerless, right?
Like I always get to the end and I'm like, I should have asked for more.
Right, yeah.
But I just didn't know how to even approach it, you know?
Yeah.
But I did love that our source material, like, again, really broke this down in a way that didn't make it feel so terrifying.
It's true. And it really does start with the research. And, you know, I'm not just saying like go on Google and search, you know, average salary for X.
Right.
It's like go deeper, right? Like Glassdoor, salary.com. What are those industry reports saying? Maybe even try to talk to people who are in similar roles, maybe even at that company if you can, to kind of get a sense of, okay, what's the playing field?
Oh, it's like being a detective in your own right.
Yeah, exactly.
Gathering intel.
And not only does that like arm you with information so that when you go into the negotiation, you're not just throwing out a number. You're like, well, actually, based on my research, this is what I've seen.
Yeah, exactly.
But it also just gives you that confidence because you know what you're talking about.
Yes, and I love that the source material actually gave us some language around this,
Oh,
like
okay.
literally a script. And one line I really liked was like, based on my understanding of the role and its market value, I'd be looking for a salary in the range of, you know, it's direct, it's professional.
Yeah. I like that.
But it's also like, let's have a conversation about this.
Yeah. It's not coming from that place of like confrontation. It's like, we're on the same team here.
Exactly.
Let's figure this out.
Right. Like, how do we get to a win-win here?
Exactly.
Okay, but then let's talk about when they come back with the whole budget constraints.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do I do then?
That's the classic, right?
Like, I feel like
It's a classic for a reason because it often works. But I think, again, this is where that flexibility comes in and the creativity, right? So it's like, okay, maybe they can't budge on the base salary.
Okay.
But are there other things that are on the table?
So even if the number is the number, there might be other things that I can try to negotiate.
100%. Like a signing bonus, additional vacation days. What about flexible work arrangements, professional development opportunities? Like all of these things have value too, right?
It's like expanding the pie, not just focusing on one slice.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, even in situations where they're able to meet your desired salary, you coming to the table and saying, hey, I've also thought about this.
Right.
It shows them like, oh, this person, they're thinking strategically.
They're thinking long term.
Exactly. This is someone we want on our team.
Okay, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this big, scary thing, but what about those everyday scenarios where we might not even realize we have the power to negotiate? Like, what if my internet bill all of a sudden is super high? Or maybe, you're signing up for something new and you're like, I wonder if there's any wiggle room on this price.
Right.
Like, it can feel kind of awkward, right?
Yeah.
To be like, can I get a better deal on this?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like when it comes to salary negotiation, most of us, we know, okay, that's the time to advocate for myself.
Right.
But these other areas, we're like, I don't know, it just feels weird.
Yeah, it feels kind of pushy, right?
Yeah, but honestly, you might be surprised by how many companies are willing to work with you if you approach it the right way.
Okay, so what is the right way? Like, if I'm dealing with, say, my internet provider and my bill is like way higher than it was last month, what's the deep dive secret?
Well, it all comes back to those cornerstones
we've
been talking about, right? Preparation, active listening, flexibility, win-win. They all apply in these scenarios too.
So when you say preparation, does that mean I should, like, call up customer service and be like, let me speak to your manager?
Well, hold your horses. It's more about understanding their policies before you even make that call.
Okay.
Like, have you checked their website? Do they even have a history of negotiating? Sometimes they even have, like, forums or SAQs that address this directly.
Ooh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, a little digging beforehand can save you a lot of hassle later on.
Right. So instead of, like, going in guns blazing, it's more about being informed.
Exactly. You want to be armed with information, but also approach it with a sense of collaboration. Like, hey, I'm a longtime customer and I noticed this discrepancy on my bill. Could we maybe figure this out together?
Okay, so it's like less about confrontation and more about finding a solution that works for both sides.
Exactly. And that's where that win-win mindset comes in.
Yeah.
They want to keep you as a customer and you want a fair deal. So there's usually a way to find that common ground.
That makes me think about something you mentioned earlier about BTNA.
Oh, yes. Your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. In this case, it might be switching to a competitor.
Right, so I need to have those options lined up.
Exactly. You don't necessarily have to use it as a threat, but simply knowing you have a backup plan gives you a sense of confidence, and that can subtly influence how the other party responds.
It's got that quiet confidence that you're not afraid to walk away if you have to.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly powerful.
This deep dive has honestly been a game changer. Like, I actually feel equipped to go out there and negotiate anything.
That's what we like to hear.
No more feeling intimidated or unsure of myself. And the best part is, it's not just about getting what I want. It's about approaching these situations with a new sense of confidence and clarity.
It's about understanding that negotiation is a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned and honed.
Exactly. And it's a skill that can benefit you in all areas of life, not just in the boardroom or at the car dealership.
It's about finding your voice, advocating for yourself, and creating win-win situations.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our listeners out there, I hope you're feeling as empowered as I am.
Go out there and negotiate with confidence.
And remember, even small wins can lead to big changes. Until next time, Deep Divers.